Okay, I want you to picture a scenario. It sounds like the setup to a really dark joke, but I promise you it is not.
Oh,
Imagine a football team. They're playing in a major championship final. They lose. But during that game, they're accused of what you can only describe as systematic, organized sabotage.
okay.
We are talking antics so wild they make a schoolyard scrap look professional. And yet, the moment the final whistle blows, this losing team, they're called up to the podium and handed the tournament's official Fair Play Award.
It does sound like a glitch in the Matrix, doesn't it? Or maybe some kind of satire. But this is exactly what we're going to be looking at today.
We are diving deep into the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations final, or AFCON, specifically that incredibly tense clash between Senegal and the host nation, Morocco.
And to help us navigate all this, we're pulling from a really fascinating and frankly blistering analysis. It's titled The Price of Protectionism in African Football by Sonia Life.
And what's so great about this source is it just refuses to look at the scoreline.
Exactly. It argues that if you just look at who won and who lost, you are missing the actual story. The real story is about what they call the dark arts of football, a scandal they've dubbed Towelgate,
Towel gate. I love that we have a gate for towels now.
and a financial and political machine so big it turned a sporting event into, well, a geopolitical chessboard.
So before we get to the launder situation, let's set the stage. What's the mission of this deep dive?
The mission is to look past the 90 minutes on the clock. We want to understand how a unicorn administrator, and we will get to that term later, and a $1.4 billion stadium plan can explain why all this stuff happened on the pitch.
Okay.
We're trying to answer a simple but really uncomfortable question. In modern football, has protectionism just replaced fair play?
So let's start with the match itself, just to ground everyone. Senegal defeated Morocco 1-0.
Right. It went to extra time, and Pape Guy scored the winner in the 94th minute.
And from a pure footballing perspective, this was huge for Senegal.
Oh, massive. The source describes it as a victory of grit and mental fortitude. And you have to remember the context. They were playing against the host nation in the host stadium with the entire crowd against them. It was a huge uphill battle.
So Senegal lifts the trophy, confetti's coming down, the Lions of Teranga are celebrating, but then things take a turn for the weird.
The weird and, according to our source, the absurd. Immediately after the match, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, they announced the winner of the Fair Play Award.
And the winner is
Morocco,
the team that just lost.
the team that just lost. And, as we're about to discuss, the team that spent the previous 120 minutes engaging in some highly questionable tactics.
And the source material, it doesn't pull any punches here. It doesn't call this a consolation prize, does it?
No, not at all. They describe it as gaslighting.
Right.
They call it a calculated erasure of what actually happened. The argument is that by giving Morocco the Fair Play Award, the governing body was essentially saying host nation disruption isn't just allowed,
It's sanctioned.
it's sanctioned, it almost rewarded.
It's the irony that gets me. I mean, when I think of fair play, I think of a player kicking the ball out when someone's injured or helping an opponent up. I don't think of. Well, let's talk about what actually happened. Let's unpack Towelgate.
Yes, let's get into the dark arts. This is where the story shifts from a football match to what the source calls a theater of the absurd.
So usually you'd worry about rough tackles, maybe some time wasting. But this was logistical sabotage involving ball boys.
Exactly. The source outlines a specific dossier on this. The allegation is that ball boys were instructed, this wasn't accidental, to remove hydration bottles and steal towels from the opposition goalkeepers during stoppages.
Steel towels, like the towel a keeper uses to dry their gloves.
Precisely. And that might sound trivial to someone who doesn't play the position, but for a goalkeeper, especially in a high-pressure final, that towel is a piece of essential equipment.
Okay, break that down for us. Why is the towel so critical?
Well, think about the physics of it. You're wearing latex gloves. If those gloves get slick with sweat or dew from the grass, they become like jars of soap. You lose your grip.
Right.
A keeper needs that to dry the ball for goal kicks. But more importantly, they need dry hands to make saves. If you can't catch the ball, you spill the shot. And if you spill the shot,
The striker just taps it in. So taking the towel is basically disabling the goalkeeper.
it creates a massive disadvantage. It's tampering with equipment in real time.
And this wasn't a one-off thing, right? This wasn't just one rogue kid who really wanted his team to win.
And that's the crucial distinction the source makes. If it were one kid, you'd laugh it off. But this happened throughout the knockout stages.
Really?
Yeah. In the semifinal against Nigeria, their goalkeeper, Stanley Nwabali, He had his bottles and towels taken. Then in the final, it just escalated. Senegal's keeper, Edouard Mendy, was arguably the primary target.
There are reports of ball boys literally wrestling towels away from him.
Physically wrestling. Imagine that. Edouard Mendy is a Champions League winner, a top-tier professional athlete, and in the biggest game on the continent, he's having to fight a child for a towel.
Wow.
And it wasn't just the kids. The source notes that even world-class players like Achraf Hakimi were seen participate, shielding the ball boys or distracting the ref.
Yeah, it suggests it's systemic. It's a strategy.
It's just a top-down standard, and this is where we have to talk about the rules. CAF has a disciplinary code. Article 83 specifically says the host association is responsible for order and security.
Okay.
And Article 82 covers principles of fair conduct. So the argument is, by using ball boys as a 12th man for sabotage, the organizers were in clear violation of their own statutes.
So you've got this heist operation happening on the sidelines, you have players joining in, and nobody stopped it. That's what I can't wrap my head around.
The institutional silence was deafening, and that's the so what here. It changes the game. It stops being a contest of skill and becomes a contest of, well, who can manipulate the logistics better?
Which brings us to the moment that really highlighted the double standard. During the match, Senegal actually walked off the pitch in protest.
They did. This was an extra time. I mean, it was a pressure cooker. You had 90 minutes of the towel stuff. The crowd is hostile. And then a really controversial penalty was awarded to Morocco.
Which Brahim Diaz actually missed, thankfully, for Senegal.
He did. But in the chaos of that moment, the Senegal players walked off. They were effectively saying, we can't play under these conditions.
And how did the powers that be react to that?
Well, FIFA President Gianni Infantino was there in the stands, and he reacted immediately. He grabbed the microphone and labeled the Senegalese protest unacceptable. He framed it as a complete breakdown of discipline.
Wait, hold on. So the walk-off is unacceptable, but the 90 minutes of towel wrestling and bottle stealing is what fine?
That is the core of the double standard argument in our source. Where was the outrage for the provocation? The analysis suggests Infantino's morality here was highly selective. Senegal didn't walk off because they were having a tantrum. They walked off because it was the only tool they had left. The system was squeezing them.
It feels like they were backed into a corner, but why would the officials let it get that far? I mean, why didn't the referee just stop the game and tell the ball boys, hey, knock it off?
That is the million-dollar question, and the source provides a chilling answer. We have to look back to the women's WAFCON, in August 2025.
Okay, so just 6 months before this final.
Right. Morocco hosted that tournament too. After it was over, Morocco lodged complaints about officiating in a loss they had. They weren't happy. And what happened?
What?
The CAF referees director, a man named Desiree Numandes Doué, was quietly fired.
Whoa. So the message to the referees in the men's tournament was pretty clear.
Crystal clear. Rule against the host, or even just upset the host, and you lose your job. It creates a climate of fear. No official wants to be the one to sanction the host nation when they've seen exactly what happens to their colleagues.
So the referees are basically scared for their livelihoods. That explains the silence on the pitch.
It neutralizes the authority of the referee completely.
Okay, so we have the what? The towel theft, the walk-off, and we have the immediate why, the fear of being fired. But let's zoom out. Why is Morocco getting this level of protection? Why hand them a fair play award that just makes everyone roll their eyes?
Now we have to move from the pitch to the boardroom. The source argues that Morocco is simply too big to fail. And to understand that, we have to meet a man the source describes as a unicorn in football administration.
A unicorn. I love that term. Who are we talking about?
We are talking about Fizzalexia.
Okay, so let's unpack his resume. Why is he a unicorn?
Because in the world of governance, you try to separate powers, right? You want the person making the rules to also be the person paying the bills.
Right, conflict of interest.
But Lekja holds 4 simultaneous conflicting titles. First, he's the president of the Royal Moroccan Football Federation. So he runs Moroccan football.
Okay, standard enough. Head of the FA.
Second, he is a minister delegate in charge of the budget for the Moroccan government.
Oh.
So he controls the national purse strings of the country. He has the checkbook.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Third, he is a member of the FIFA Council. That's the top table of global football. And fourth, and maybe most critically here, he is the chair of CAF's Finance Committee.
Wait. So he runs the Finance Committee for all of African football while also being the budget minister for Morocco while also running the Moroccan team.
Exactly. He is the player, the treasurer, and the government official all at once. The source argues that the lines of conflict of interest, they haven't just been blurred, they've vanished. He holds the keys to the continent's football treasury.
So when you have that much concentrated power, it's pretty hard for anyone to say no to you.
It makes him arguably the most powerful man in African football. When you control the money flow both from the state and within the confederation, you have immense leverage.
But there's a bigger play here, isn't there? This isn't just about winning one AFCON trophy. This has to be about 2030.
This is the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Morocco is set to co-host the Centennial 2030 World Cup with Spain and Portugal. This is a massive, massive deal.
And massive money.
Huge money. The source mentions a $1.4 billion commitment to stadium upgrades. Morocco is positioning itself as a world-class host. Now, put yourself in the shoes of FIFA and Gianni Infantino.
Okay, I'm Infantino. I've got this huge World Cup coming up. I need my host, Morocco, to look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot afford for Rabat to look chaotic or unsportsmanlike or petty. If the narrative of the AFCON final is Morocco cheated with ball boys and stole towels, that tarnishes the brand of your future World Cup host. It looks amateurish.
So a fair play award
is a PR move.
Yes.
It's sanitizer. It washes away the dark arts and replaces the narrative with fair play winner. It protects the investment. The source argues FIFA is prioritizing the protection of its future asset, the 2030 World Cup, over the integrity of the match that was actually being played.
That is incredibly cynical, but it makes a sick kind of business sense. You protect the asset. But what about the other African nations? I mean, CAF has 54 members. Why doesn't the rest of the continent just stand up and say, hey, we saw you steal those towels. This is wrong.
And that brings us to a concept the source calls hotel diplomacy.
Hotel diplomacy. Sounds fancy. How does that work?
It's a very clever form of soft power. See, Morocco uses its wealth as a donor state. They have this incredible facility, the Mohammed VI complex, and the Moroccan Football Federation hosts training camps for over a dozen African national teams there.
Let me guess. They don't charge them full price.
Often, they don't charge them at all. We're talking free hotels, free flights, free training grounds, access to world-class medical staff.
Ah. So if I'm the president of a smaller football federation with a tight budget, and Morocco is paying for my team's prep...
Are you going to vote against them? Are you going to file a formal complaint about a stolen towel? In the voting structure of CAF, this generosity buys silence. It's a quid pro quo. You don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Even if that hand is also stealing your goalkeeper's water bottle, it creates a dependency.
Exactly. And CAF itself is dependent on money, right?
Right.
To operate. The source details the FIFA forward data. CAF relies on FIFA grants, about $8 million per member. But a lot of that funding is discretionary. So this whole financial entanglement means CAF struggles to stand up to FIFA, and it struggles to stand up to a wealthy member like Morocco, who's effectively subsidizing the entire organization.
It's just a web of influence. The money keeps everyone in line.
And that leads us right back to the paradox we started with. The sabotage happens, the fair play award is given, and the room stays quiet because everyone is compromised in one way or another.
So let's bring this all back together. We started with what sounded like a joke. A team sabotaging a game and winning a fair play award. But after unpacking it, it seems like the system is working exactly as it was designed to.
For the people in charge, yes. That's the tragedy of it. The source concludes with this powerful synthesis. On one hand, you have Senegal. Their victory was a miracle. They beat 11 players, they beat the ball boys, they beat the hostile atmosphere, and they beat the administrative deck that was stacked against them.
A victory of resistance, really.
Yes. But on the other hand, governance it lost its soul. The source warns that if this trajectory continues, AFCON risks becoming a scripted host award ceremony.
Where the football is just a backdrop for the politics.
Precisely. If fair play can be awarded to the masters of disruption, the term loses all meaning. It sends a message to every other nation. Don't focus on getting better at football. Focus on getting better at gaming the system.
Focus on politics, not the pitch.
Exactly.
It's a sobering thought. We love the game for the magic on the pitch. That 94th minute goal by Pep Guy. That's why we watch. But it's getting harder and harder to ignore the machinery grinding away in the background.
And that's the question we have to leave hanging for you, the listener. In an era of sports washing, of billion-dollar investments and global diplomacy being played out in stadiums, is the very concept of fair play becoming obsolete?
Yeah.
Are we just moving into an era where the only rule is protect the investment at all costs?
That is something to chew on. Next time you see a fair play award handed out, maybe take a closer look at who's holding the trophy and who paid for the podium. That's it for this deep dive into the place of protectionism. Thanks for listening.